Well, guys, it's now time for my Week 4 picks of the 2021 NFL season, as last week I went 11-5, not as good as I would hope it to be, but hey, at least it's still a pretty good win percentage as, yeah, thank you, Windows, I appreciate you doing that every time I film this. And of course, here is the regular season stands and the playoff stands at the season end of the day. In the AFC, the Raiders have the bye with the Ravens at Bengals, Chargers at Titans, and Broncos at Bills. And the NFC, it's the Rams with the bye with 49ers at Panthers, Buccaneers at Packers, and the Cardinals at Cowboys. And my Super Bowl pick right now would be the Rams beating the Titans. Alright, so now let's get to my Week 4 picks. As we start off with Thursday night, as the Jaguars are at the Bengals for the third year in a row. As the Bengals won the last one, the Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2019. As the Jaguars, they did not really play good against the Cardinals, although they did have a big lead for a moment, but of course, they choked in the end. And the Bengals, oh my god, they freaking destroyed the Steelers, embarrassed them. They made Ben look like he was a bust. Oh my god, that was pretty bad for the Steelers, but hey, how about that for the Bengals? I mean, yeah, 2 of their wins were close, but hey, 2-1, possibly almost were 3-0. That would definitely been a good start to the year for them so far. They're definitely having improvement so far. And of course, a matchup between the number 1 draft picks the last 2 years. I'm going to pick the Bengals for this one. They won last year, and they're probably going to win even more this time around since they're much better than before. Alright, so then we get to the 1 p.m. games, starting off with the Titans at the Jets for the first time since 2015, as the Jets are trying to avoid 0-4 for the third year in a row. Titans won the last one, the Jets haven't won since 2015, and the Titans haven't won in East Rutherford since 1996 when they were the Oilers, for crying out loud. So the Titans got a win over the Colts, although it wasn't necessarily the prettiest victory, finally ending that losing streak at home they had, and now they lead the AFC South for the moment, and the Jets, oh my god, they were shut out by the Broncos. Their offense is so bad, as Zach Wilson looks like a complete and total bust. As you see, their offensive stats are like some of the worst in the league. Their defense is pretty solid, but unless the Titans shit the bed, which, hey, I mean, they've done it before against bad teams like the Steelers, so it's not out of the realm. I'm picking the Titans for this one because the Jets are just bad. If anything, in a lot of ways, they might even be worse than last year, believe it or not. That's saying something. And then it's the Chiefs at the Eagles for the first time since 2013, as the Chiefs won the last 2. The Eagles haven't beaten them since 2009, as the Chiefs and Andy Reid, of course, getting ready to go up against the Eagles for the third time since he left them. And, of course, they blew it against the Chargers. Yeah, they're definitely not playing good this year. Like, all the concerns I had going into last year, they're amplified this year. Their defense is really bad. All their games are just, like, too close for comfort. And, like, last year where all their close games they won, now they're, like, losing them this year. That's why I say before, you don't want close wins. You want blowout victories. That way you know you're actually good instead of just nail-biting victories. As they're now 1-2, last place in the AFC West. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the year? And the Eagles, meanwhile, got crushed by the Cowboys as they're coming back to earth after their crushing victory over the Falcons, and then barely almost beating the 49ers. I'm picking the Chiefs for this one. This should not be hard for the Chiefs to win. The Ravens were a playoff team last year. The Chargers were a good team. This shouldn't be too hard. The Eagles suck. They should be able to get right with this one. And then a big one, the NFC, as the Panthers are at the Cowboys for the first time since 2015, as the Panthers try to go 4-0 for the first time since 2015, as the Panthers won the last 2, Cowboys haven't beaten them since 2012, and the Panthers haven't won in Arlington since 2009, which was the Cowboys' first win in Cowboy Stadium. So the Panthers off to a very good 3-0 start, but of course, when 2 of your games are against like 2 of the worst teams in the league and a Saints team that was in a transition, that's not necessarily a total surprise, as the Cowboys are easily dominating the division so far. And of course, I don't know why the Panthers stats here didn't get updated, because it's 2-1-1-1. Somebody got screwed up in that regard, because they have one of the best defense in the league. But now here comes the real test for the Panthers against an actual good team, their first real challenge this season. And I'm going to pick the Cowboys for this. We'll see how the Panthers actually do against a good team. Alright, then it's the Giants at the Saints for the first time since 2015, as the Giants are trying to avoid 0-4 for the second year in a row. The Saints won the last one. The Giants haven't beaten them since 2006. And they haven't won in New Orleans since 2005, but that was in East Rutherford because Hurricane Katrina forced that Saints home game to be at the Giants. So not quite, but that is the technical one. It's been, God, who knows how long since they actually won down in New Orleans. So the Giants, of course, blew it against the Falcons, which I'm actually kind of surprised by, or expecting them to actually win that one. And the Saints crushed the Patriots pretty convincingly. Like, they're having a seesaw week where they're blowing out teams and then they're getting blown out the next week. But now they're going up against an actual bad team. Maybe they can get the ship set and get the 3-1. I'm picking the Saints for this one, but knowing how they're playing this year, I guess I won't be surprised if the Giants somehow get it. Alright, then it's the Browns at the Vikings for the first time since 2013, as the Vikings won the last one in London 2017. The Browns haven't beaten them since 2013, and the Vikings haven't won at home since 2005 against the Browns, since the Browns won last time. So the Browns crushed the Bears last week with that 9 sacks? Incredible. As right now, statistically, they're looking like one of the best teams in the league right now in terms of all the stats except passing yards. They're in the top 10 in every category but that. That's, I think, the only team right now in the league that's doing that. So the Browns, off to a good start. But then again, of course, when you're playing two terrible teams like the Bears and Texans, I guess it's not too much of a surprise. Meanwhile, the Vikings got a right win over the Seahawks to salvage the season, as all their games have been close too, just like the Chiefs, but just haven't been able to clinch it. This could be an offensive showcase. It'll be very interesting, but you know what? Even though the stats defensive stat indicate otherwise, I'm actually going to pick the Vikings again in an upset. We'll see how the Browns defense do against an actual elite offense in the Vikings, because they've been playing against trash lately. We saw what happened when they played a really good offense in the Chiefs, so I'm picking the Vikings to get that. Alright, and then it's the Texans at the Bills for the first time since 2015, as the Texans won the last one. The Bills haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Texans haven't won in Buffalo since 2009. So the Texans, of course, after that dominating win against the Jaguars, they're coming back to reality as they're now 1-2 and not looking really good. The Bills, meanwhile, holy crap, now they're after 2 weeks in after that disappointing loss to Steelers, now they're looking like a perfect team. Like in 2019, they were mostly defense. Last year, they were mostly offense. Right now, they're looking like really good in every category, which right now looks like they might be the best team in the NFC. I mean, AFC other than the Browns right now. They're the only team I think off the top of my head that has these good stats all across the board, and that's going to really help them, as I'm going to pick them to beat the Texans, probably crush them. So then it's the Colts at the Dolphins for the first time since 2015, as the Colts try to avoid 0-4 for the first time since 2011. Dolphins won the last one. Colts haven't beaten them since 2008, and they haven't won in Miami since 2001 when they were division teammates. So the Colts lost a tough one to the Titans, as they're not looking really good whatsoever, but of course at the same time, I don't think they're 0-3 because they're bad. It's more because they have just a terrible start to the year and have to go up against playoff teams from last year. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, of course, they're playing like shit, like I expected them to do. But they did almost beat the Raiders. They were very close to being able to do it. So the Colts should not underestimate the Dolphins. Yes, they're bad, but they're still competitive. So you got to take them seriously. And I'm going to still pick the Colts for this one, but I won't be surprised either if the Dolphins get it. Then it's the football team at the Falcons for the first time since 2015, as the Falcons won the last 6. The football team hasn't beaten them in Atlanta since 2003 when the last time they beat them. So the football team got crushed by the Bills. I mean, people put like too much emphasis on that defense. I mean, it is the Bills we're talking about. They have like one of the best offenses in the league, so yeah, they were going to probably get torched, but at the same time, that defense is really, really bad. It's like one of the worst defenses in the league right now. I mean, look at these stats. They're really bad. And the Falcons, they finally got their first win of the year, although it wasn't pretty, as they're not looking really good whatsoever. I was expecting a nice rebound year somewhat for them after the terrible 2027 season, but so far, no. That's not happening. And, oh boy, like, I really don't know really what to pick. On the one hand, I want to pick the Falcons, since their football team's defense is so bad that surely the Falcons could crush them, but the Falcons have been playing so bad this year that, against terrible defenses, that I can't even trust them. So you know what? I'm going to pick the football team in an upset. Watch the Falcons still get the win like they've done the last 6 times. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games, as it's the Seahawks at the 49ers. All the NFC matchups this week, as the Seahawks won the last 2. The 49ers haven't beaten them since 2019. They haven't beaten them at home since 2018. As the Seahawks, they lost to the Vikings. I'm not surprised, but the fact that they're 1-2 I mean, I wasn't not expecting that to not happen, but at the same time, that's also a big concern, especially when everyone else in the NFC West is doing really good. They really need to start winning to keep up. And the 49ers, at first it looked like they were going to get crushed by the Packers, then they actually made a big comeback, but they just couldn't save it in the end. At least it was a good loss, a loss where they didn't get blown out to salvage the season so far. This will be very interesting and important for both teams, since this will give them a massive leg up in that division. It could go either way with these two, since a lot of their games are pretty close. But I think that desperation is probably going to lead the Seahawks more to wanting to win this one. So I'm going to probably pick them to get it. But I won't be surprised if the 49ers get it. Then is the big one in the NFC, as the Cardinals are at the Rams. As the Cardinals try to go 4-0 for the first time since 2012. And the Rams try to go 4-0 for the first time since 2018. As the Rams won the last 6, the Cardinals haven't beaten them since 2016. As whoever wins this has the lead in the NFC West. As the Cardinals, it looked kind of ugly against the Jaguars, but they managed to get the win as they have like one of the best offenses in the league. Kind of like how they did in 2015. And the Rams spanked the Buccaneers pretty good too. Although their stats-wise are not looking really good, they are definitely looking like the best team in the NFC so far. They've already spanked the Buccaneers. They got to play the Packers later, who are struggling. So yeah, they're looking really good right now. That Stafford trade's really helping them out right now. And I'm picking them to get the win over the Cardinals to keep that momentum up in the division. Then it's the Steelers at the Packers for the first time since 2013. As the Steelers won the last 5, the Packers haven't beaten them since 1995, for crying out loud. As the Steelers, oh my god, I knew they were going to struggle, but you got destroyed at home by the Bengals? That I was not expecting. The Steelers are definitely playing really, really badly this year so far. Nothing's really going right for them so far. They really need to turn around. The Packers, meanwhile, that was a scare for the moment. You had this big lead on the 49ers, and then you choked it, but you managed to get the win in the end. Kind of a big concern. You need to start like winning games convincingly instead of like close nail biters. And I'm picking the Packers for this one, but hey, don't underestimate the Steelers. When they usually don't hang around under 500 for long. They usually have a get-right game very soon, so don't underestimate them, especially since you lost them against the last 5 times. And then a big one, the AFC playoff picture, as the Ravens are at the Broncos for the first time since 2015. The Ravens won the last one. The Broncos haven't beaten them since 2015. And the Ravens haven't won in Denver since 2001, which was the only time they won in Denver other than the playoffs. And the Broncos' first loss, too, in the Mile High Stadium, as the Broncos try to go 4-0 for the first time since 2016. The Ravens, oh my god, what a close one that was. And I just realized the Lions and Bears, I got to do that in a second. But, oh my god, you played so badly against the Lions, and you just got lucky that Justin Tucker is one of the greatest kickers in the league right now to salvage that. He fucking broke the record kick. That was insane. Just barely. So, you're lucky. The Ravens are honestly lucky that they're not 0-3. They got lucky that the Chiefs fumbled, and then they got lucky that Justin Tucker's on their team. Very, very concerning. Meanwhile, the Broncos, one of the best defenses in the league. But remember, they shut out the Jets. All their games so far, believe it or not, are against teams with no wins. Giants, Jaguars, Jets. They're 0-9 like everyone else. They have no win. They have not been a team with a win record, or even a win yet, for God's sake. Their 3-0 is definitely overrated, just like the Panthers are right now. They are not really a good team, as they're now going to face an actual test against the Ravens. But you know what? Despite me saying that the Broncos are weak, I'm actually going to pick them in an upset over the Ravens, because the Ravens have been playing so bad. I mean, they barely beat a Lions team who are just as bad, if not worse, than the Broncos, for God's sake. If they can barely beat the Lions, what makes you think they can't beat the Broncos, who have better stats than the Lions? Not looking good, so I'm going to pick the Broncos in an upset. So, of course, I just missed this one, so I'm going to do it right off the bat. The Lions at the Bears, as the Lions try to avoid 0-4 for the first time since 2015. The Lions won the last one. The Bears haven't beaten them since 2020. As the Lions, as I just mentioned about the Ravens, I don't know what it is about the Ravens. They always struggle when they visit the Lions. And it looked like, once again, it was going to show up as the Lions almost beat them. But they let the Ravens convert a 4th and 19, and then Justin Tucker showed why he's the best kicker in the league. You guys are so snake-bitten. When a game was so obviously yours, you couldn't even get it. Meanwhile, the Bears. Finally, they started Justin Fields. He needs to stay a starter for the entire year. but he played so badly in his start against the Browns. But I think that's more because their offensive line made him look really bad, for God's sake. He got sacked like 9 times, as they have the worst stats. In offense, they're like the worst to second worst in all the categories except rushing. That's really bad. So you know what? Probably another upset. I'm going to pick the Lions to get this one. They won last year, and they should have won both games last year if they didn't choke the first game. So I'm going to pick the Lions to get this one, as the Bears are just in really bad shape. All right. Then, it's Sunday night. Probably one of the most anticipated games in years, as the Buccaneers are at the Patriots for the first time since 2013. The Patriots have won the last 4. The Buccaneers haven't won against the Patriots since 2000, which was the very first game that Brady was on the Patriots team in 2000, believe it or not. As Brady is going to make his return against the Patriots. This, honestly, to me, might even be more intense than when Peyton played the Colts in 2013. Oh my God, this is going to be crazy! As the Buccaneers, of course, lost last week to the Rams pretty badly too, as their defense, you see, is really bad. Their offense is pretty much lopsided just to the passing game, as their rushing offense is the worst, second worst in the league. Meanwhile, the Patriots got pretty crushed by the Saints. They really needed that win in the competitive AFC side of the playoffs, as Max Jones looked really, really bad. Like, all the rookie quarterbacks so far are looking really bad so far this year, except Trey Lance, who hasn't even gotten to play yet, really. Oh boy. Now you gotta wonder, will the Patriots do like what the Colts did in 2013 against Peyton, where they not only won, but they won convincingly? Only problem is that the Patriots are not good, whereas the Colts were good at that time. So the momentum is very much on the Buccaneers, but you should not underestimate the Patriots to pull off some sort of upset. But I'm going to pick the Buccaneers for this one, as Brady will get his revenge. That will be crazy to see that game. I can't wait. And then, finally, Monday night, a big one to AFC West, as the Raiders are at the Chargers. As the Raiders are trying to go 4-0 for the first time since 2002. The Chargers won the last one. The Raiders haven't beaten them since 2020. And the Chargers haven't won at home since 2018. No, Raiders haven't beaten them. Wait, no, they did beat them. Yeah, 2018 was the last time they beat them at home. God, I'm getting my shit all mixed up. So the Raiders, they're off to a very impressive start that even I didn't expect with that tough start to the year, just like the Colts. But they're gotten lucky with 2 overtime victories. Their offense is one of the best in the league except for rushing. Their defense is actually solid, at least. As long as your defense is solid, you have a chance maybe to get to the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Chargers, their stats aren't necessarily looking really good either, but they're holding on and beat the Chiefs, although they need to start winning in convincing games and not close ones. That's like how the Chiefs were last year. You see how much that's biting them in the ass. So they got to definitely do better, as this is big on the line. And of course, it might not be relevant either if the Broncos win, but this is still going to matter too, whoever wins, whoever leads the AFC West. Can you imagine if the Broncos win and then the Chargers beat the Raiders? We have one 4-0 team, 2 3-1 teams, and the Chiefs, who might be 2-2 in last place in the division right now. What a strange start to the AFC West it's going to be. But I'm going to pick the Chargers for this one, but I guess I won't be surprised if the Raiders get it, because after all, they did beat them last year. They almost beat them a second time, remember? Alright, so those are my picks for Week 4. I cannot wait for Jaguars at Bengals tonight. So my picks are the Bengals over the Jaguars, Titans over the Jets, Chiefs over the Eagles, Cowboys over the Panthers, Saints over the Giants, Vikings over the Browns, Lions over the Bears, Bills over the Texans, Colts over the Dolphins, football team over the Falcons, Seahawks over the 49ers, Rams over the Cardinals, Packers over the Steelers, Broncos over the Ravens, Buccaneers over the Patriots, and Chargers over the Raiders. So see you guys next time for Week 5.